What was a time someone assumed something about you that was completely wrong? People think I'm super fit and in great shape. I'm not particularly tall and I'm naturally super skinny. I just am. More recently I have started to put some effort into working out and eating healthier. Because I like to cook and I feel better when I'm eating well and moving. But people still thought I was in great shape in high school and the beginning of college when I was eating fast food constantly and not moving a bit. It honestly got annoying. Genetics, man. Skinny doesn't equal fit. I was working on the till in Tesco, serving some guy and his partner. It was a lovely day and he said, "Bet you wish you weren't working today and we're outside in the lovely weather." I laughed and said yeah. He then laughed and told me that I should have studied better in school then. I took great pleasure in telling him that actually I have a degree and run my own business. I was just doing 4 hours a week in Tesco for a few months to help with my mortgage application. Not that there is anything wrong with working full time in a shop. Judgmental bastard lol. What a weird thing for him to say. I have a higher degree and most of the time I don't even know if it's a nice day or not because I work full time in a windowless basement room. When I moved to my group home at 16 they gave me a bright pink colored room and Katy Perry music to get me comfortable. Never said anything because I was nervous as heck being in a new home. Everyone kinda rolled with it for a few months and everyone got a giant surprise when I asked for stuff from Hot Topic and tickets to a Slipknot concert for Christmas. Everyone in high school thought I was a stoner because of my long and messy hair and apathetic attitude toward school, but the truth is I didn't even try weed until I was 20. I was cycling with my mountain bike on this flat little roundabout behind my house. I was there with my little brother and a random neighborhood cat when a car came around the corner. Seeing as I had 2 cats of my own and I didn't think the driver would see the cat on the road, I decided to try and scooch the cat onto the sidewalk by cycling next to it and sticking my foot out to move the cat in the right way. The old lady in the passenger seat thought I was trying to get the cat hit by the car or something, so she opened the door while the car still moved slowly and yelled at me. I tried to explain that I had 2 cats on my own and that I was just trying to help the cat, but she did not even try to listen to me. She just brushed off everything I said and responded with yeah, sure. Then they drove off. People making wrong assumptions about me or anyone else pisses me off, and that one event still sticks with me. People assume I am unintelligent because I am quiet. Being quiet doesn't mean I don't have thoughts. I just understand that not everyone needs to hear every thought that comes into my head. You're in possession of a rare thing, the ever elusive brain to mouth filter. I'm autistic. Unfortunately, a lot of people think I'm a stuck-up bee when really I'm just very uncomfortable being alive. Apparently, you can't be the silent type and also a woman without being a bee. I have literally never had conversations with people but have heard vicious rumors about me come from their mouths. They never even try to talk to me. It's baffling. When I started with my company, I was called a goof and a kid despite being 26 at the time. I guess it's because I'm more easygoing than a lot of the grumpy old fricks in my division. A few people told me to give up and that I'd never make it in the field. I even had one of the guys teach me to do something wrong which could have potentially got me seriously hurt at work, and he laughed when I called him out. I'm currently the division leader and hold the most senior position at this site. I leapfrogged many of them to get this position. I was 26, working as a child and youth worker. My client, teen, was going through a rough time and ended up in the youth psychiatric unit. Although it was staffed with mental health nurses, we had to remain with her 4-hour shifts. Anyways, I take the kid to sign out a Nintendo DS from the nurse's station. The nurse was super friendly, shook my hand, asked my name, chit-chatted a bit. It was nice because as a youth worker you kind of either get ignored or blamed for your client's behavior. Then she asked what I wanted to check out for myself and I saw an old Game Boy, so I was like, frick it, we can both play games and maybe that would help build rapport. It was later when she was administering med snacks I realized she had thought I was a teenage psych patient. I was paid for playing a Game Boy though, so it was okay. Because I am big into health, spurt and spreading love and kindness, I must be an anti-vaxxer. I get this all the time. People assume because I eat and live a healthy lifestyle, I must be against meds. I am vaccinated and all my kids are too. I eat and live healthy because I want to be healthy. If I want to be healthy and live a long life, I am going to vaccinate. One positive thing is I get anti-vaxxers who seek me out to talk about evil vaccines, and I get to smile very big inside as I tell them how pro-vaccines I am. I don't understand where the frick that conclusion came from. I assumed that because you care about health you would be vaccinated, unless I'm missing something here. In high school, just about everyone thought I did drugs. All I did in school was play music, cut classes to chill in the music rooms, and sleep. I was often tired and just very slow, so I guess that's why, although I lived with very strict parents so I wouldn't even dream about getting caught with drugs. Jokes on them though, started doing M in college. I was working with a woman and we were outside having a coffee break. I guess the way I was standing and the way the folds in my pants were, she thought I had a massive dong. She looked at my crotch and down my leg and says, "Is that your dong? You're huge." I looked her in the eye and told her, "Yeah, sometimes it gets in the way," in a defeated tone. She was stunned at the apparent girth and length of Mr. Happy. Of course, it was just my pants. My 4 inches isn't impressing anyone. And of course, she was a lesbian who had no interest in my pant dong. She was amazed from purely a scientific perspective. People are always assuming I'm like 10 years younger than I am. I'm in my early 30s and people who don't know me tend to think I'm a college student. I was a cashier at Borders before they all closed and a girl was buying an Anthony and the Johnson CD. I said something about her purchase that made her say, "Anthony did a duet with Rufus Wainwright, but you wouldn't know who that is." I just calmly told her that I had 2 of his albums and had seen him in concert. She just said, "Oh, nothing egregious, but definitely a really weird assumption to make that was completely wrong." I was born premature and addicted to crack, PCP and alcohol in the 80s. My foster family was advised by doctors, social workers and family lawyers to never adopt me because the conventional wisdom at the time was that I'd never live a normal life. They assumed I wouldn't be able to function in a normal classroom and that I'd be dependent on hospice care my entire life. Today I hold a master's degree from a top-tier university. I have a great career. I'm in excellent health. I own property and financially support my mom, who was my foster mom. Recently my dad and grandmother, both also foster, passed away, and I learned the hard way that while in my heart and my lived experiences I was their grandchild, in the eyes of the law, I had no legal authority over their affairs. Once I went to a fair with someone who I considered a good friend at the time. The fair in question was insanely popular in our hometown, so naturally we would see kids from our school there. We ran into some of them and they thought we were on a date. Little did they know, I am a gay. That I'm gay, which is understandable. I mean, I do definitely seem like it, but I'm frigid. And then when dude found out I wasn't gay, he tried to violate me and ended up with a pair of crushed testicles. My freshman dorm mates initially thought I was a straight edge because of the wholesome show I put on for my parents during move-in day. They were sneaking drinks around me the first couple weeks because they were worried I'd tattle on them. Little did they know I had a trunk at the end of my bed full of booze and a bit of coke, plus some stinky weed in the trunk of my car I intended to sell on campus once I made friends. But they were tiptoeing around me because they thought I'd blow a whistle and call the RA if they drank a Bud Light in front of me. We ended up becoming really good friends. Most of my co-workers thought I was a big-titted blonde bimbo admin who barely knew how to tie my shoes. Then they started talking to me and learned that I used to work in a lab researching 1,000-year-old samples, have work that was published internationally, have experience with mis-access and can work Excel better than most of them can, and used to do programming for fun. I also picked up some part-time work supporting one of the teams since they needed an extra set of hands, and helped pioneer a product that my boss wants to introduce as something used company-wide, which has been seen by some pretty high-ranking individuals. I'm working right now on a unified HR admin system to streamline the onboarding process for new employees. Pretty good for a bimbo, I guess. I'm half Latino and completely white looking. I get a lot of xenophobic people spouting their hate against Mexicans and the like since they feel comfortable around other white folks. I always try to work in a clever reveal after their rant and watch them squirm if my comment forces them to realize their frick up. When I was in college I was a pretty shy guy. Quiet, nerdy, really focused on my studies. I started dating a very extroverted girl from my classes, and when things got intimate she had assumed it would be like the movies where I was an awkward virgin. This is not the case. She was not prepared for the crap I'm into. I walked into a Volvo dealership prepared to pay cash for a new 850. The salesman kept trying to direct me to the used cars, and when I asked for a drink of water he tried to keep me outside away from the showroom. I guess my grubby blue jeans and tank top were offensive to the ladies wearing pearls. I told him I wanted to look at the 850 and he again tried to show me a used one. I left and went to another dealership and bought a new one. I really can't blame people for this one. I present as someone who thinks light jazz is a tad bit too wild. In reality I'm a pretty huge metalhead. Cannibal Corpse, Behemoth, Dark Throne, and such. It's pretty funny sometimes. It's funny when people assume I'm a cis woman. I was born into gender a type known as 50/50 unilateral true hermaphrodite, meaning my organs are literally half male, half female, nearly perfectly, as most intergender people do. I was unethically given infant genital mutilation as an infant and as such, developed closer to female in appearance, because of the testosterone problems, from having my bits cut off. I identify as masculine male. Technically I am a trans man who cannot get the surgeries, because of complications caused by the completely legal and still practiced intergender correction surgeries which cause lifelong health and mental health complications while giving zero benefits. That I was straight was at the interview for my current job, and she asked if I lived with my parents. I said no, with my boyfriend. She then asked girlfriend, to which I stopped and reaffirmed no, boyfriend. She had a really good poker face, but her embarrassment came through for a few moments. I love when that happens. When I was 21 and heavily pregnant, my family thought I was too emotionally fragile and weak when my mother died. It took them a few years to start seeing me as a competent, self-sustaining adult instead of an overgrown child. I married the father and we became independent on our own at 22. We weren't depending on others for a roof over our head and we made our own money. One relative was my grandmother gifted me her car when she was no longer safe to drive. That car then helped us find good jobs that supports my family. I had help, but I wasn't a leech. I'm 36 and my family still treats me like a child because I will not have children. When me and my brother was taking the train back home once, there were some kids playing with the toilet door button activated, and when we arrived at our station the conductor came out of the train and complained at us for doing it. We just said it was some kids and ignored him. The most notable one for me is people assuming I completed high school. I dropped out when I was a sophomore, got my get a year and changed later, then took college classes when my peers were seniors. Turns out switching schools doesn't help when you have underlying mental health problems, but I guess hindsight is 20/20. In all, I'd say it's a fun incorrect assumption to correct, and it comes up frequently because I'm in the tech industry, and the assumption is that everyone is a goody two-shoes nerd who took the normal education career path. That I am neo-Nazi because I know the Nazis did bad things to Jews, and that I believe in Estelle Labrouse's prophecies because I joke about them. I'm not sure of her name. Now, nope. Talking about something doesn't mean you agree with it. We can entertain ideas without supporting them. I had to argue creationism in my biology class in high school. I just got back from Fort Jackson, so take a seat ladies and gentlemen and I'll tell me tale. So I swore in January this year and was sent to Fort Jackson for BCT on the 1st of September. Everything went fine. Got my OCPS, my immunization shots, my dog tags, all that good crap. Cut to the 6th of September. We were in shell formation for dinner and a guy they had a seizure. Because that was my first time witnessing that, I had an anxiety attack and was taken to the on-base hospital for it and returned to the battalion the same night. 4 days later I went to the RBH and was fricked over big time. Because I was a Navy brat, they had my full medical record. My full outdated medical record. So to their knowledge the army thinks I have autism spectrum disorder when that was declared a misdiagnosis later on after I was diagnosed with it when I was 5. told the therapist who was evaluating me that I was misdiagnosed with autism when she told me that I was being discharged for it, and her response to it can pretty much be summed up to "Yeah right. I don't care." Cut to the 25th of September and I was sent to Echo to be processed home, and I'm officially back home as of yesterday. So I have the utmost respect for the US military, but frick Fort Jackson and the therapist they had working at the battalion I was sent to. My brother thought I was using my mother for money and taking trips with her at her expense, except I was paying for everything. I've been told that I have a very young face. I was 28 when I was pregnant with my first child. Anyways, was on an Amtrak traveling for work. Very visibly pregnant, didn't have my wedding ring because my fingers were too swollen at that point. Old lady came up to me unsolicited and lectured me about being unmarried and a teen mom. I was LOL, I do not have the patience for this. Please take a step back and stfu. My previous boss liked to use me as his idiot test when meeting with engineers to go over technical data. He'd have me take notes and ask me, "Did you understand that?" occasionally throughout the meetings. I had to remind him after a few times that while I graduated with an unrelated major, I did 2 years of a math physics double major after winning awards in high school for math, and had been supporting his engineering department for 4 years at this point. Just because my duties included managing his calendar didn't mean I was a bimbo. To be fair, he apologized and started using me as his sounding board after that, as my people and observation skills were better than his. He'd send me to meetings as his rep and let others underestimate me, only to pull them up short later. We became good friends, and even though we've both moved on professionally, still keep in touch. Thought girl at a bar was straight. Asked girl for number. She thought I was gay. She gave me her number. Laughs all around when we figured it out. I still feel so bad about this. I was walking in a crowded downtown area, talking to my friend about the weird customers we used to get when I worked at a craft supply store. Scrapbookers, yarn ladies, jewelry makers, etc. I had a lot of really weird customers who did beadwork who were very particular and took up a lot of the staff's time. So I said, "And bedders are frickin' crazy." A Mexican woman in front of me turned around and looked at me like she was trying to decide if it was worth getting arrested for kicking the crap out of me. She clearly misheard me and thought I'd said a racial slur instead of bedders. Replace the D with an N. It's easy to mishear it that way. I felt horrible but was afraid to directly address it because I didn't want to further offend her if she thought I was just lying to cover my butt. So I really hammered home the bead talk, saying yeah they'd come in 5 minutes before close and sit on the floor in the bead aisle looking at every individual package of beads and ask our store manager which beads he thought would go best with her bracelet. And in hindsight, I should have just explained that she had misheard me and I'd never use a slur like that and apologize for the misunderstanding. I regret how poorly I handled that, since I probably caused her more harm by allowing her to continue thinking I'd use that kind of hateful language against her. She had probably experienced so much of that already. I never want to contribute to that pain. I started a new life. A lot of people at my new job think I'm a wholesome, privileged, homely girl. What they don't know is that I was a stripper who abused drugs and alcohol and was just shy of having a coke addiction. Anytime I'm around co-workers and even the mention of anything physical comes up, they try to not say anything like that around me. Many people assume I am an angry person and frequently extend that assumption to me being stupid because I am bearded, have a gruff voice, a heavy brow line, and I am a natural introvert. I also like to lift weights, so I'm fairly burly, though admittedly, with my gym closed for COVID, I'm currently less burly and more lumpy, much to my own chagrin. In reality, I'm a pretty happy person. I have an MA in literature from a good university, and I work in early childhood education. The dissonance between what I am and how people see me can be frustrating. Pretty much all the time people assume I will accept their disgusting attitudes and bad behavior and not call them out for it, and every single time they are incorrect. I'm a woman. I have dark long hair. I like wearing black. It's slimming and looks nice on me. I do like some morbid stuff but not too crazy. My BF is a huge metalhead, so everyone assumes I am too. The heaviest thing I listen to is Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine. Everything else is pretty tame. The Killers, Florence and the Machine, Franz Ferdinand, Kate Bush, David Bowie, Muse and much more. I'm nowhere near a metalhead. I can deal with the music because my dad loves it too, but I never got into it. I do like some stuff that my dad and BF consider metal. Ghost, Mastodon, Amon Amarth. I also like older rock like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest, but I don't actively listen to those bands. I have nothing against metal. It's just not my thing. I don't like people assuming things about me, especially music. Literally my entire life people assumed I was confident, cocky, and arrogant. Literally everyone. To this day, that's the thing all my friends talk about. In reality, I was a self-hating, unsure, insecure person. I guess I just realized early on that exhibiting how I feel inside would normally have negative statistical ramifications, because people simply don't respond well overall to those kind of characteristics. And I didn't want that to affect my love life, social life, and work life. I wanted to be someone else, so I could experience things in life I might not have experienced being myself. So I forced a persona of another person, a confident, cocky, arrogant person, and I forced it so much, and so often, that it became natural to act like that, even though I was feeling completely opposite on the inside. My wife always jokes with people that I'm the most extroverted introvert she's ever met. Me around other people, and me just by myself, are two totally different people. My race. I'm in large parts Native American, and the amount of people who honestly have no idea we even exist is insane. I'm either Mexican, Indian, or biracial. It's sad that so much of my ancestors' culture has been destroyed. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.